Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're counting down our picks for the 10 spookiest, creepiest, and most terrifying locations in survival horror games. Be prepared for plenty of frights and scares ahead. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. The Suburban House Infliction Extended Cut. Infliction is the scariest game that no one talks about. A relentlessly oppressive, horrifying dive into domestic issues, alcoholism, regret, demonic rituals, possession, murder, and vengeful spirits. Now, if you thought PT was terrifying, then you need to experience Infliction. It's a game where the average, almost mundane suburban home becomes a hellmouth, one created through dark design and nefarious deeds. A spouse murdered for sacrifice, but to what end? Well, that won't be spoiled here, but the house and its offshoots that you explore in Infliction are truly the things of nightmares. What starts out as just walking around a seemingly normal house with the odd noise here and there and a passing shadow quickly devolves into terror and madness while always keeping things just on the edge of reality and sanity. The impeccable audio design on display in Infliction is what sets this game apart from its contemporaries, with each groan, creak, scream, and breath feeling palpable as your hairs stand on end all throughout this demonic illusory house. Wildberger Hospital, Tormented Souls. Hospitals in horror games are not fun places to be, whether that be the traditional hospital, a mental hospital, or some other variant. Tormented Souls' central locale just so happens to be a hospital, Wildberger Hospital to be specific. Apart from sounding like some sort of hip and trendy plant-based sandwich restaurant, Wildberger is a deeply moody and ominous gothic Victorian mansion that, of course, just so happens to be a nightmarish hospital. Unfortunately for protagonist Caroline Walker, she finds herself at this creepy location in hopes of figuring out what happened to some twins that she learns about from a cryptic photograph. Wildberger is brimming with horrifying elements. From the likes of the decaying and blood-spattered walls, to mutilated bodies, to unholy monstrosities that must be put down with a nail gun, and plenty more, there's truly not much here that seems pleasant to experience. USG Ishimura, Dead Space. Is it just me, or are spaceships scary places even in non-horror games? Perhaps it's the stark and sterile feel, perhaps it's how unknown and mysterious they are, or perhaps in Dead Space's case, it's the fact that the USG Ishimura is littered with necromorphs who want to devour your flesh and completely ruin your day. Everyone's favorite stompy boy Isaac Clarke has to spend way too much time alone aboard the USG Ishimura, and it's clearly gone to his head. This utterly terrifying, now defunct mining ship, aka the Planet Cracker, has so many dimly lit hallways and corridors with just enough ambient lighting that all it really needs is a table for two, a couple of roses, and a nice dinner for a necromorph couple to share a romantic evening. There's just really no feeling safe as you explore this spacecraft since everything seems to just want to kill you. The USG Ishimura has become such an iconic locale because of its sense of place and atmosphere of pure dread. Abbott State Penitentiary, The Suffering. The Suffering's Abbott State Penitentiary is a downright terrifying, hellish abode for all things nightmare fuel. Sure, prisons, jails, penitentiaries, and the like are typically scary in any horror game, but Abbott State really ups the ante here. In The Suffering, you step into the ominous shoes of Torque, a new death row inmate who has been sentenced for allegedly murdering his family. As Torque explores the labyrinthian halls, cells, and corridors of Abbot State, he comes up against aberrations that are meant to be representations of various death sentences, from lethal injection to being sent to the gallows to inhumane laceration, bloodletting, and tons more. While Torque does have the weaponry and grit to deal with these monsters, especially when he turns into a monster himself via the game's insanity meter, there's just no denying how scary Abbot State truly is. It's dark, foreboding, maze-like, covered in blood and bodies, and it doesn't help that Torque can have hallucinations that will make you jump out of your seat.
I have seen the unspeakable, and I won't be at its mercy anymore.
Bart's department store, condemned to criminal origins. When you think of scary horror games locations, it's unlikely that a department store comes to mind first. But what if I told you that this department store has been long abandoned, is completely decrepit, is covered in old Christmas decor, is teeming with junkies who want to smash a rebar in your face, oh, and well, also it's full of terrifying mannequins, some of which might just move on their own and come attack you. Yeah, that definitely changes things a bit, I think. Well, such is the case with Bart's department store from the highly enjoyable and often overlooked horror game Condemned Criminal Origins. Exploring this department store is consistently harrowing because nothing really is as it seems. You just never feel safe. As you try to find and investigate the matchmaker serial killer's nefarious deeds in this locale, you'll always be on the edge. Seriously, beware the mannequins, especially the ones in the creepy Santa hats. Riverfields mortuary, the mortuary assistant.
You'll die here.
What was that?
I didn't say anything. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry.
The mortuary assistant is a masterclass in subtle horror, especially when it comes to its central location, namely Riverfields mortuary. Instead of just relying on cheap scare tactics, the mortuary assistant slowly and cleverly ratchets up the tension, often without ever letting that tension get released. Typically, that's why many horror games have so many jump scares. This game, however, lets you go about your grim work as a mortuary assistant, no surprise there of course, but you quickly learn that stepping foot into Riverfields means that you are now the host for the omnipresent demon. In order to rid yourself of this looming possession, you must craft a sigil, latch it to a cadaver, and burn it, but only after you figure out which demon it is. Of course, all of this is done while you still do your preparation and embalming of the bodies. And while all this is happening, you will likely see something out of the corner of your eye at random spots within Riverfields. It's these subtle moments that make this location so phenomenal for tense horror. You just never know what is going to be thrown your way from the demon haunting you. The Looping Hallway, PT.
We regret to report the murder of a wife and her 2 children by their husband and father.
Atmosphere, atmosphere, atmosphere. That's really everything in PT, the playable teaser that was to be a new Silent Hills game back in the day. This iconic experience seeps into your brain, ensuring it doesn't let go. Taking place in the disturbing confines of a looping L-shaped corridor, PT is the epitome of scary. Hearing the details about a family's murder through the dissonant radio broadcast immediately sets you on edge. Then it's the baby crying, the cockroaches scurrying around, the shadowy, ghostly, stalking presence of Lisa in the hallway, the bloody hanging fridge, and the ominous scrawlings that appear on walls. For what is basically a super short demo, PT manages to stuff an entire horror buffet into one tiny location. But again, it's the atmosphere of dread that permeates every footstep you take through this looping corridor. The location just feels alive, aware of you, and it feels deeply evil. Sure, you might solve the confounding conundrums in order to escape this hell, but just behind you at all times lurks the terrifying spectral presence of Lisa. Simply put, you are never alone in PT, and this location will burn its way into your nightmares. House Beneviento, Resident Evil Village.
I've been waiting for so long.
The House Beneviento section of Resident Evil Village was my absolute favorite part of that game. It stands out from anything else in the game, heck, anything else in the entire franchise. This spooky, gothic, Victorian-esque mansion is essentially a house of horrors, not unlike something you would walk through during the Halloween season, replete with sentient, dastardly dolls, a wooden mannequin puzzle that's meant to resemble Ethan's now dead wife Mia, decaying and peeling wallpaper, oh, and well, how could I forget, a freaking giant baby monster, because, you know, why the heck not? The dichotomy of the spectacularly beautiful, if haunting, view of House Beneviento on the walk up to it contrasted with the derelict nature of the mansion's lower levels, yes, I'm very much looking at you, creepy well from the ring, ensures no two areas ever feel the same in this section of the game. It's masterfully crafted, downright terrifying, and incredibly mesmerizing to explore.
Tick-tock! Your life's on the line.
Right.
Try and find me.
Himuro Mansion, Fatal Frame. Whenever I think of the first Fatal Frame game, also known as Project Zero, I can't help but get chills down my spine. This is mostly down to the game's central infamous location, Himuro Mansion. This haunted, rural Japanese mansion is dripping with dread and tension, and it doesn't help that some really bad things happened at this location, including the Himuro family sacrificing people to satiate the hellgate that the mansion and its grounds were built over. You know, the usual stuff, right? Due to a curse known as the Malice, the eponymous mansion haunts anyone and everyone who enters it, and unfortunately those who met their demise there. The staggering number of ghosts in Himuro Mansion certainly contributes to its status as one of the scariest locations in horror games. And the fact that you have to banish these specters with the camera obscura in an up-close and personal fashion makes the whole affair that much more harrowing. It's a classic example of a Japanese haunted mansion made ever more frightening by its ominous past.
Is this the Holy Mirror? It's just a piece of it.
Woodside / Blue Creek Apartments, Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 is one of, if not the greatest survival horror games of all time. A game that is as disturbing as it is thought-provoking, as beautiful as it is haunting. While it would be easy to select any location from this game as the scariest, including the likes of Toluca Prison and even the titular fog-laden town itself, for our money it's the Woodside / Blue Creek Apartments that really stand out as the scariest. Perhaps it's the fact that these otherwise innocuous apartments come across as both benign and domestic, typical similar accommodations many of us have lived in. However, it's the way in which Silent Hill 2 skews the average and mundane into something nightmarish and otherworldly. As James explores both the Woodside and Blue Creek apartments, he comes up against abandoned rooms, dilapidated hallways, odd characters such as Angela, and of course, who can forget Pyramid Head? I mean, who can forget that scene? You know the one while James hides in the closet? The way in which these two apartment buildings weave into each other, creating a tapestry of terror, ensures these locales are stone-cold scary stalwarts.
How do you know that?
Well, I just figured, 'cause this is where you're looking for her. How else would I know?
So, do you agree with our picks for this list? With so many incredibly scary locations in this beloved genre, what are some that stand out to you? Be sure to let us know down in the comments. Thank you for watching this video from MojoPlays. If you do want to see more from us, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our daily gaming videos.